Welcome to our second episode of A Bird's Eye View, a spotlight on faculty teaching excellence. Once again, we look forward to sharing remote learning best practices of our outstanding Broward College faculty. My name's Michelle Levine. I'm the District Director of Faculty Development in CTEL.
Hi, my name is Belinda Meridian, and I'm the District Director for Instructional Design.
Professor Lisa Burgess will be joining Belinda and I as our co-host.
Professor Burgess is a proud graduate of BC and has been with the college as an employee since 2000. She graduated from UF with a master's in pharmaceutical sciences and received a second master's degree in molecular biology and biotechnology from Johns Hopkins University. A fun fact about Professor Burgess: Lisa is a professional photographer focusing mostly on sports, but also some nature and portraiture.
Today, our featured faculty guest is Professor Eileen Santiago from the Education Pathway.
It is my pleasure to introduce my colleague and friend, Professor Eileen Santiago. Professor Santiago has been with Broward College since 2018. She is a reading professor in the Teacher Education Program and is also a proud BC alumna. A fun fact about Professor Santiago: Eileen loves to attend musicals with her 13-year-old daughter, Jaylin.
We are very fortunate that both Professor Burgess and Professor Santiago will work closely with our CTEL team as a faculty coordinator and facilitator, respectively. Thank you both so much for joining us today.
Well, okay, let's get started. Eileen, can you please describe some of the best practices that you have used to transition your courses to a remote environment?
That's a great question. I think one of the main things that I wanted to focus on was being consistent with the teaching style that the students were used to in the classroom, keeping as much of it the same as we went remote. I was able to do so using Blackboard Collaborate and using the breakout groups and allowing the students to still have that group work and being able to work together. I also wanted to make sure to engage. That was a big focus for me. And working as a team, not only with my students, but also with other faculty to make sure that we were kind of sharing what was working. And something else that helped me, I was able to go back and review some of the practices that I learned as I completed AQ this year. And I found myself going to the implementation resources and looking at the online section and seeing how to make sure that my students were engaging on Blackboard Collaborate as we discuss questions from the textbook or from case studies. I also really reviewed the motivating your students. That was an area where I really wanted to make sure that the students knew that I was there, that I would support them. So some of the examples that I kind of learned a little bit more about was making sure the students were feeling supported. I would send messages, emails, phone calls, and making sure that when they were in the groups that all the students were interacting. And another best practice that I made sure to really work on a little more during this remote learning was active learning. And not only when we were in a group on Blackboard, but also when we were in small groups and having discussions. And so those were my best practices that I think really helped me out during this time.
Thanks so much for sharing all of that, Eileen. I love that you mentioned AQ. So for those of you who are not familiar with AQ, AQ is our Association of College and University Educators course that we are offering to all faculty, both full-time and part-time faculty. That is a 25-module course in teaching best practices. And really just amazing content that we recommend for all of our faculty to go through this course. As Eileen mentioned, there are just countless strategies, practical strategies that you can be using in your courses to improve both your face-to-face and your virtual instruction. And Belinda, Lisa, myself, and Eileen are all graduates of the AQ course. So I wanted to see if Belinda or Lisa has anything to add about AQ.
Yeah, Michelle, AQ was amazing. There were lots of different things I took away from it. I think one that was really important for me that I hadn't really thought about or considered or I guess, deeply incorporated into my teaching was accessibility. That was a big one. There was a module on accessibility for students with different issues, and I really now look at my my assignments, especially with this transition to remote learning. I kind of went back and took a look at that module and thought to myself, okay, I need to make sure in the sciences, if I'm using something recorded, it needs to have closed caption. It just made me much more conscious of those sorts of things. And with the transition to the remote learning, I really had to pay much closer attention to that.
Definitely. And just to build on that, I also felt like there was some really eye-opening examples that they gave to try and incorporate creativity in your delivery of course material. I found some ideas interesting, where it was funny that they gave one example where to motivate students, you would give them like a $1 bill for every time they get an answer correctly. And then of course you would collect it at the end. And even though it seemed a little like, I was a little taken aback, like, what? I know, you know, I don't think I would ever do that. But and then it was funny to get the creativity wheel, you know, flowing to think of other things of how you could think outside of the box to do that. And also the aspect of that being more personable with the students, and allowing them to put a face and hobbies and more of a person behind the name. So if you're in an online course, or even how we're in remote learning right now, how that face-to-face instruction, even though it may be synchronous or asynchronous, to be able to really get to know your instructor a little bit more, allows for a stronger communication between the students and with the student-teacher presence.
You know, on Belinda's note on that, on making it personal, it was interesting. Last week, I had a colleague say to me, they had a student who is in the student is in my lab course and in her lecture course. And when the student signed in to attend lecture, she noticed the student had a new picture on Collaborate. We can put pictures up. And she commented on the student's picture and said, oh, that's a really great picture. And the student said, well, Professor Burgess has a really great picture up. So I had to start adding a picture. And I noticed once I had added a picture, something just as small as making it personal. It was a picture of me with my dog. And I put something personal up. All my students did start adding pictures and were asking me how to do it. So yeah, that just a small little personal touch, I think, goes a long way. That was a good thing to point out.
Absolutely. And I also want to point out that AQ has an online teaching toolkit that they put together when everybody started to go into the remote environment. And it's absolutely phenomenal, filled with tons of free resources. And we're going to post the link here for you to join that toolkit and kind of browse and see some of the resources that are on there. There's videos and all kinds of resources for you to use as we transition and begin the new semester in the remote environment. So thank you, everybody, for sharing about AQ. So Eileen, we would love to see firsthand how you are utilizing the virtual environment to deliver some of your content in your course. Can you please demo for us some of the projects that you've been doing?
Yes, of course, it would be my pleasure. My class, we were going to be, there were 2 assignments in my class that we were going to have an event, and we were ready to go for the month of May, and we were going to have these events on North Campus. We were going to invite not only the students, but their families and other students from other classes. And when we went to remote, I wanted to make sure that the assignments continued, and I'm super proud of my students because we were able to really bring these assignments to life using Blackboard. So in one of my classes, the students were to listen to an audiobook, and we had 40 different audiobooks, and they would have to create they were going to do a story cup, like a coffee cup, and decorate with the summary of the book. And when we went remote, I gave my students the opportunity to do a 1-pager because I didn't want them to be going out and purchasing a cup. And so I was able to kind of give them 2 options. And so I want to share with you a few of the one-pagers that the students created. This is a quick review that gives you an idea of what the book is about, the audiobook, and allows for pre-service teachers to use that in their classroom and for other teachers to use that and kind of engage students as an assignment after they read a book. So I'm going to share with you a few of the one-pagers that the students created. And I have another slide here. This is another presentation of other one-pagers that were created. And this was some of the story cups that the students were able to make. So they took a plastic cup and decorated with the title, the author, and just a little bit of information. So a prospective reader can look at this and say, wow, I'm really interested in learning a little bit more. So I'm gonna check out the book or purchase the book, The Hate You Give. And this is another example of another student with the audiobook Ender's Game. In my other class, we were able to use our LibGuide with the support of Ms. Christy Moran and the ASC at North Campus. And I'm going to show you what that looks like with the ASC and the LibGuide. And every semester, we have 5 to 6 books that the students get to check out at the ASC, and then they read it as a group. Well, they read it individually, and every week we go over reading components and how they're infused in this book, and they work on creating a presentation at the end of the semester. And again, these students were able to create this even though we were not together in the class anymore. And so I would like to share 2 examples with you of the videos that were shared with the students. The first video is going to be a student sharing her experience and telling you a little bit about the book. And the second video is going to be one of the LibGuides and how they created a video. And again, giving you a summary of the book.
Hi, Professor Santiago. So I did my audiobook on Sadie by Courtney Summers. I loved it as an audiobook. I don't think it should be read any other way but an audiobook. Just so you know. Anyways, the grade level that I feel should be appropriate for this book is high school, because it does deal with mature language and mature content like child rape. This is what my copy looks like. So I decided to do this as my interpretation of the cover of the book, which is kind of like this, but not really. I decided to put Sadie in front of her face because she knows her name is Sadie, but when she runs away to find her sister's killer, she does go about different names. This is the podcast that Wes McCrae does, and it's basically about first how to find where Sadie is and how we can find her, and also to find Maddie's killer. And then this I did because Keith, the person that did rape Sadie when she was a child and killed Maddie, spoiler alert, he would take the child's tag from the back of their shirt and write their name on it as a souvenir. So that is why I did my cup this way. Also, inside of the cup, I have a bunch of quotes from different characters, and in red, I put it over all the quotes, and I think it's the most important quote, and it is, and Sadie, if you're out there, please let me know, because I cannot take another dead girl.
Jess lives in a rural area with his parents and 4 sisters. Jess loves to run in an open field.
I'm gonna win this race.
like to go to the art museum?
Sure, let me ask my mom. Mom, can I go to the art museum?
Okay, Jess, don't be late.
Mom, I'm home.
Okay, so that's the second video.
Wow, that's really great. I think it's really cool, the difference in the two, and how you can show how easy it was for the first student to just make the video, probably using their phone, right? And so this is a really great assignment. Do you know what they used for the second one? How they created that video?
Let me see. They did it on YouTube, so they submitted it as a YouTube. So I don't know what they used.
They used iMovie.
Oh, you're right. Oh, I see it.
They probably used a phone. You can use a phone to film all that, and then iMovie to edit it.
And they were given class time, so they would meet with me on Blackboard Collaborate, and they would work on that. And then I would allow them like 30 minutes to get off and maybe get on the phone and have their own conversations and make some edits, and then they would come back and recap on where they were at. So it was definitely just a great way for them to work together on on Blackboard, but also off, during class time. I gave them time to kind of like, I guess, get off. Sorry,
I love how she got her whole family involved.
I know. That was excellent.
That was it. That was great.
One of the things I love about having these projects where the students either work alone or when they work in groups is being able to see them grow, taking the lead. And for my shy students, they're really able to interact more, and it really shows when they submit their final presentation. I can really see how much they're growing, not only as a student, but also in learning to work and collaborate with other students in the class that they typically might not work with or know.
Yeah, and it's great that you were able to continue this collaboration even in the remote learning environment.
Definitely. I did give them the option because they were first supposed to just do the story cup. So I gave them the option of the one pager. But what we would do is we would meet on Blackboard Collaborate. They would work in breakout groups, and they would be allowed to kind of discuss what they wanted to work on. And then they would also be allowed to get off and do some of the recordings and then kind of recap at the end of the class. So everyone knew where we were at. And depending on people's schedules, some students really used time during class to finish up their assignment.
That's great. So Eileen, just a question for you. What would you say is your greatest challenge in going to remote?
So I want to say I haven't really had too many challenges. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But if I had to say what one of my greatest challenges was, one of them would be COVID, which we're all being impacted. But this was a semester where I did a lot of listening. And I had students that were really impacted with homeschooling their own children and losing their job, anxiety, depression, and seeing, just sharing that they had a death in the family, either because of COVID or just other illnesses. And these students were still able to log on. I had 100% attendance. And so that was definitely a challenge for me. But I can say that I did have support from my AD and my dean, as well as SOS. So we were able to provide services for the students and let them know that we're there, that we're here to support them.
Can you list any of the services or bring mention to it that you know of that was beneficial?
Definitely. And so some of the resources that we were able to provide was the contact phone numbers and how to get the help with Henderson Medical, as well as the local donations of food, like the food drives, the laptops. Students were able to get their laptop from going to one of the campuses. It was a very smooth transition. We also had students that applied for the funds. And so this was all, a way to help them.
Yeah. And it's amazing how everyone kind of came together to help,
Definitely. We are definitely a team, and we have to continue working together. I think my second challenge was my students work on a case study, and they work on this case study when they're in the schools, and the students who are not able to complete their hours because, you know, we went remote and so did the school board, I had to kind of find assignments that were meaningful and differentiate the assignments for students who were missing maybe 3 hours of field experience hours to someone that was missing 15. So that was a bit of a challenge, being able to find meaningful assignments for them to still have that interaction with the student, their child at home, or a case study that I would provide for them. But those were my only two challenges.
Good. Thank you for sharing that.
I think what you said, Eileen, is so simple and yet so powerful that you just started to listen to your students and to what their challenges were, and then you were able to help them and respond to that. And I think that that is really one of our roles as faculty, is to make sure that we are seeing the whole student, not just the student in the classroom, but the entire student. And you're doing such an amazing job really helping them.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for everyone from the other departments who have also helped out, because I'm just the person who listens to that student, but then I'm able to work with the pathway and just other departments. So again, thank you for all those departments that are able to make this happen.
Absolutely, we're all in this together.
Yeah, absolutely, Eileen. Definitely, it's a Broward College teamwork type of thing.
Okay.
So Eileen, while the transition to remote learning has certainly been challenging, there's been many positive outcomes as well. So what unexpected benefits have you experienced as a result of our transition to remote learning?
I have a few. I think that one of the greatest benefits was connecting, and I think that we have a busy schedule. We have meetings, we have class, and sometimes we forget, or we don't make time to connect. And so I've been able to connect through emails and Skype with other professors, faculty, and staff. I've been able to participate in various webinars that are available remote, online. Some of them have been either on remote learning, AQ, as well as accessibility. And if I miss them because I have a meeting, I'm able to receive the recording and listen to it at a later time. I've been able to get to know faculty like Professor Burgess that I somewhat met on Twitter and had never met. And so, and also the other faculty members that she works with in the science department. So that has been super cool. And the just-in-time sessions, I love to be part of them, because sometimes I'm in class and I have a question, like either the recording wouldn't work, or I have a question about the chat, and I could just jump on and say, hey, I have this question, and then I have it. So for the next class, I'm good to go. So that's been a big benefit. And to me, as a teacher, I have really been able to see what my students bring. And I always tell them, you need to bring the grit. I tell them, passion and perseverance, bring it. You might be placed at a school and, it might not be what you're expecting. It might be a different experience. You might take it as a positive learning experience. It might not be the best experience, but you need to bring the grit. And I can tell you that having to change the assignments, having to really make so many changes, they have really shown me where they are and what they're going to do when they get into the system to teach. And so that to me has been a great benefit that I could see in the classroom, but I've really been able to see it. I don't have any students saying, oh, I can't do the assignment, I'm not going to do it. The most I've been asked is like, can you give me like a few days of an extension? So that to me has been a great benefit to see what they've been able to do.
Well, I have to say that you are modeling that behavior. You're bringing your passion and perseverance and grit, and they're seeing that, and there's nothing more powerful than that.
And I just want to add that Eileen and I did actually literally meet over Twitter.
Yes.
We really did. And I have to add that the social media has been amazing. And I've been just following Eileen and what she's doing with her students. They do there's a lot of Twitter activity with her students and the different projects and things that they're doing. And some of them are just amazing. They're really impressive. I'm like, oh my gosh, how can I incorporate that in my own class? Because she's done some really cool stuff. And I can't wait to see the next Top Chef.
Yes. And Professor Burgess, seeing what you and your peers, your colleagues, what you do with the videos with science, I'm like, how? I don't even remember how to learn, how to teach that.
So yeah, the social media has been a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm literally smiling ear to ear because you two are just both so amazing and really just, we're so thankful to have both of you here at the college.
Well, thank you, Michelle.
It's proof that, you know, you don't have to teach the exact same subject to actually share and collaborate ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That's an excellent point. Yes.
But
Yes.
what you do share is that passion, which is just so great to see. So Eileen, you are also the RYL Reading Lead Your Future Club Advisor. Can you please share how your club has been able to continue to meet virtually?
So my club members are just amazing. Again, we were able to continue we had about maybe 2 to 3 meetings a month, and then we held our last meeting last week when we chose our officers. But we were able to not only have meetings and kind of go over where everyone's at, but we have 2 events that we were able to work through as remote. I'm going to share one of them. Top Chef was an event that we were going to have in the month of May on North Campus. And we decided to do this remote. And I want to give a big thank you to the North Campus Student Life, Leo, Miguel, and the team at North has been amazing in really helping us do this. And so I'm sharing with you now the Instagram page. And as you can see, these are some of the students who have created a very simple meal. And they were battling each other to be Broward College's next top chef. And they enjoyed doing that as well. We also played where is it? Wheel of Fortune right here. And so we did that with a tripod and the help of my daughter. And we also had a few challenges. So this is one of our challenges. We had your favorite book, a review. We had Christy Moran, Dr. Polito share their challenges, their favorite book in the challenge. And so this is the Top Chef that we were able to still do remotely. And our second event that we're going to have on May the 9th, I'm going to share with you, is our free book day. This was supposed to be a free comic book day, but we're not going to have this remotely. We are going to be mailing out 50 books to students in Hollywood and Pompano. We're working with Dr. Coyne from Broward Up. We're working with Megan from the Central Campus Library to really make this happen for our students. These are some of the books that we're going to be using. And this was our meeting last week. When we have our May 9th session on YouTube, we're going to be providing resources to parents in English, Spanish, and Creole, as well as some fun activities with these books that the kids will receive next week in the mail. And so I'm super proud to be an advisor to these amazing students who are logging on, making sure that we're all on the same page and provide a great fun event on May the 9th via YouTube.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
That's great, Eileen. Just one last question. What advice would you give to your colleagues as they adjust their courses to a remote learning modality and prepare for the start of the summer term?
I would say a tip that helped me and can help others would be to try it. Just make mistakes, have fun, and try out. If you haven't tried Blackboard, make sure you go to the sessions that the instructional designers and CITO can help you with, but just try it out. Find ways that the students are still learning the material, but to just make it engaging for the students to really engage. And I would say, listen to your students and make sure that they know that you're there for them, because a lot of our students are going through different situations, and sometimes we miss that and we're just on, hey, you know, we need to cover this and this is all that matters, and we don't listen, and sometimes we disconnect from our students and we lose a lot. So just make sure.
That's a really good point. Yeah. And you know, to quote Albert Einstein, a person who never made a mistake never tried anything new, right? So it's intimidating to be challenged to teach in a remote environment and especially if you're very critical of yourself and scared to make any mistakes. But I'm sure that the students genuinely appreciate the levels of creativity and the the time that you guys have taken as faculty to really try to make it work, because any kind of normalcy that they could continue to have when everything else is changing around them and challenging for them is something that really, I think, helps for their mental health and also to help them to achieve their goals,
Yes.
And Eileen, I have to say, I just really love how you make teaching fun. It's not just fun for the students in a learning environment, but that you have fun and your energy you give off this energy of, hey, this is really great stuff. Let's make it creative. I think that's very contagious, for lack of a better term, to the students and to faculty. I mean, it just, reminds me why I like to do this. It's a lot of fun.
And to
Absolutely.
use the example, Lisa, like it's funny because when I see people that get just as excited as I am for new practices, exactly what happened with our last bird's eye view, that, I learned something new, and what did I do? I ran and emailed you, hey, check this out,
Yeah,
So
and I'm already, I already found OBS online. I'm downloading it. I can't wait to use it.
Yes, I started to use it as well.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
to be able to share and take advantage of that is it's really impressive. So Eileen, as your colleague and friend, I just want to thank you personally for agreeing to participate in this webinar series. And it was my pleasure to be able to join Michelle and Belinda to spotlight your passion, your enthusiasm, and your excellence in teaching.
Thank you so much for having me. And I just also want to let you know I will be using OBS for my I learned about it ago.
So a shout out to Dr. Betts.
Yes.
I learned about OBS a few weeks ago from I have an amazing volunteer who just graduated from FAU, and he's the one who actually brings all the videos for me when we have these events. And I told him, what can I do on YouTube to stream my students? Because I don't just want to have myself talking. And so he's like, OBS. And I'm like, what is that? And so I will be using OBS with my May 9th event with the students, so that we're all sharing a screen and it's streaming on YouTube. So
nice.
Great. We'll tune in for that for sure.
Yeah, I also wanted to say thank you to both of you, to Professor Burgess and to Professor Santiago, for joining us today, because the time that you take to really share your practices and work on this webinar series really helps others, and you have to have a true heart in being an educator and the passion for that to be able to put that time aside in your day to do this. So thank you, and thank you to Michelle for putting this all together.
Yes,
No,
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, this has definitely been a team effort. I cannot take credit for that. That is all of us, our whole CTEL team, and Norm, who is behind the scenes right now. All of us together, really. This was definitely a team effort. And I just want to again thank both of you. Eileen, I honestly cannot imagine a better person leading our future teachers and showing teaching excellence by example. And Lisa and Eileen, you're both an inspiration to us all as we strive to excel as educators, particularly during this challenging time. So this concludes our second episode of our webinar series, A Bird's Eye View. We look forward to highlighting more of our wonderful Broward College faculty in the weeks to come. Thank you all for joining us.